I'm Gaz, and this is Let's Play SimCity 2000, a game that I have yet to play on this channel, but it's a pretty good one, actually. Far more than you'd think. I did a little research on this game, including going and finding some old GeoCities era websites that are dedicated to the strategy of this game by some very dedicated people, I might add. So this is the GOG.com version, which means it is the DOS version. There is actually a slightly better version, the Windows 95 one, that doesn't play well on future versions of Windows, and an even better version of the game called the Network Edition. We'll talk about that in a minute. First, we need to start the game, and we will not be starting a new city. This randomly generates a city, but it generates a map with 25% hills, which is too much. So instead we'll go to edit a new map.
Reticulating spline.
And it reticulates splines. And we have this very, very funky interface. Very cool though. I like it. Not a fan of the hills. This is what it looks like by default. So we're going to lower the hills to like 10% and maybe lower the water a bit. That might be lowering it too much. Take it up again. 12 and 6, sure. Yeah, I can work with it. Okay. But one thing I am going to do, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to clean up some of the random water bits here. Some of the hills that... No. Turned a molehill into a mountain there. Let's do clean. Oh my god. So as you can see, the tools are a little funky to try and use, and because they cost so much money when we actually start the game, it's better to just utilize them as much as you can. Now, let's pull that back so I have a corridor here, and yeah, let's get rid of some more of these lakes and ponds. We can always put them down, and they're relatively cheap to put surface water in. So we'll do that a little bit later. Boy, that is ugly. Let's see if we can't take care of that. Okay. Well, shit, would you do that for me, please? Okay. Now, you know what? I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. That's actually pretty decent. But what we will do here, pull this. Oh, fuck! And I'm just making the coastline worse. I want it to actually not be so like just eaten into. Okay, fine. I'm gonna stop playing with it. What I am gonna do though, I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna put in some surface water, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using hydropower for my city, and we're not going to be listening to this one. We are listening to Kevin MacLeod music, not the SimCity copyrighted, always gets me a copyright strike music. So we'll just have to deal with that. And if I want to do more here, I'll do that later. Actually, this is a pretty decent spot too. Yeah, so we're going to be using hydropower for pretty much the early game because it is better in pretty much every way. You know, I'm really not a fan of this side stuff. Let's get rid of this one so I can actually build over here. I guess we can leave that. This one's a little bit too small to even be useful. Let's get rid of that. This is too big. Let's get rid of this so we can use the whole thing over here. You know, and I'm looking at this thing and I really don't. It doesn't need to be that big. I'll leave some, but let's not make it that big. Just enough to put some water pumps around here and make it useful. Okay. I think I can start now. Let me zoom out just a little bit more, and just for the sake of it, let's add in some trees. How about? Yeah, okay, good enough. Let's go ahead and start. So we'll start new city, easy 1900, and begin. And we begin with a newspaper, which is actually pretty informative. First of all, it tells you some crazy stories that are rather involved. But and they look like they're cut off too. I don't know. You can't scroll. Also, this is kind of tied to the real world. And I say kind of because the manual mentions that some things happening in the real world impact what's going on in the game. I think like there's an energy crisis in the 70s that mirrors real life, and so it changes some of the things that you can do. But we won't worry about that yet because nothing's going on. We will, however, pause, and we're going to turn off music, even though I think I've got that handled right now. All right. So, yes, first things first, let's get some power going. And like I said, we're going to do hydropower. And the reason for that is because of the early power plants that I have access to. Coal is best. Oil power apparently is not worth it. The manual actually has sort of a graph, not a graph, but a table showing you the simoleon per power ratio and all that. Coal is probably your best bet in regards to the plants, but it's highly pollutant, and you can get the same amount for the same price in hydro. And another major difference is that power plants will actually blow up. They have a lifespan, so after about 50 years they're not useful anymore and you're just putting down another one. Hydro, on the other hand, is forever, so we will use hydro. To do that, we're going to have to do a little bit of terraforming, which I did at the start here, but what we also have to do is simulate a waterfall. So that's where we're going to come in here, and we're just going to handcraft some water on the side of the hill. And we need 10 to make it the same amount of water. So let's... I guess I can have it all come over here, and we'll end up simulating a stream down that way. Alternatively, if I flatten this out, let's see if this works. This could be a little ugly here. Oh, it's not doing it. It's not doing it. Oh, pull it back. Okay. Well, you know what? That's actually all right. So I say it costs the same. It really costs a little bit more because you're adding the extra money for the water. So consider it a little bit of a down payment on your future plants here, but we'll go ahead and put this down. And just for the sake of it, let's also go ahead and put in some water that actually makes it look like it's coming from the reservoir, so it makes sense. And yeah, now we just have to get some power lineage. First of all, let's figure out where we're going to put the city. This would actually be a pretty good starter area. And then we can just do this for the bigger stuff once I've actually got some access to things. You know what? We'll do it. Holy crap. So the game has clock speed issues with modern systems, and it's a little bit crazy at times. But yeah, let's go ahead and start over here. And then we'll probably end up doing a tunnel over here, to be honest with you. That seems like a little bit of a better solution to whatever we've got going on here. Okay. So what I'm going to do... Now, in this game, you can put zones 3 spaces away from a road. And so that leads a lot of people to using basically a 6x6 grid pattern. There, in the hint websites that I looked at, they actually recommend using a 9x9. I'm going to use a 10x10, but I think over here in this little spot, I'm going to stick to that 9x9. And what I will do is I will also put it from the side here. And the reason for that is because I'm going to put industry along the outside, which allows pollution to go off the map, and so I don't really have to deal with all of it. First of all, let me look at this. Oh yeah, so we should talk about the Network Edition. The Network Edition basically does all the things that the new SimCity, and when I say new, I mean it's what, like almost 10 years old now, the latest SimCity, SimCity 5, tried to do. The Network Edition did successfully. So you can play with up to 4 people, and they will take over these cities that you see around you. And actually, that's another thing. We can just pull all these things off, and they open up their own windows. So you can have other people play in these cities, or you can have them play co-op on your same map. And to avoid chaos, you basically have to, as a player, claim so much land, and then you can only build in that area. But it's kind of like a co-op competitive version, and it looks really neat. But it unfortunately only lasted for like a year, and then they stopped making it because it wasn't making any money, because I guess no one was playing online games in '96, which makes sense because the internet was still kind of nascent at that point. Anyway, so I need the reason I pulled this up because I need to think about who I'm going to connect to, and Pioneers out there definitely seems like the city I want to connect to. It's a much bigger one. So I think I will leave that there to remind myself of future connection to it. So let's see, can we do... We're not going to get a lot of 9x9 blockage in here, to be honest with you, though. Maybe I should just go 6x6 in here. Let's try a 9x9. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the reason that they say do a 9x9 is because, unlike the zones, which have to be 3 away from a road, in the center is where you can put your service buildings, because they do not have to be connected to a road. Because in reality, these are more like collector roads, and then inside is like little streets and whatnot that you don't actually see, but it's just kind of implied. So I guess there is implied then to be a way that your service buildings can be connected to via inner streets and roads. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that actually works out pretty well there. It's not too bad. Okay, so let's also, why don't we extend this out to here? Okay, so I'm going to start, now there's a ratio actually for your RCI, and your residential zonage should equal a combined total of your commercial and industrial, and over time those values will shift because, according to the manual, they tried to simulate actual city development so that a small city is probably going to be more focused towards industry and jobs, blue-collar jobs, and the commercial center is not really going to be in a small town. It's going to be in large towns. So as your city gets bigger, the demand shifts towards commercial and you have less residential. Early on, this one strategy site that I found says you should go for a 4 to 1 to 3 ratio. So, I've got what? 8 here. This is kind of a loud song. 8, 16. So I should have about 4 commercial. We'll just go with 3 for right now. But then I need 3. So, like, I'm going to need about 9. Let's get all that going there. Because really, if I had to, yeah, I mean, like, I need a lot more. So I wonder if maybe I can't. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 3. If I level that out, I could make a block in here, so let's do that. Terrain, just 1. There we go. Spending a bit of money. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, okay. Well, this will probably end up being a split block with, oh boy, so if I do a little bit there, I can get a 6x6 road. Just gotta think, Alright, so yeah, if we're going that direction, I'm gonna want like 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Oh, and I've been putting down the wrong... Okay, so by default it puts dense down. I really should have been putting light down because, one, it's cheaper, but it also has a lot less strain on your infrastructure. Oh well, we'll just go with what we've been doing. Do like that, and I guess I'll go ahead and put down Another one of those. I think I'm over abundant on the zone for this, but that's fine. We'll fill it in eventually. So why I want to go for a 10 by 10 is because right now I've got these little 3 by 3 spaces, but the bigger buildings are 4 by 4. And what a 10 by 10 will allow me to do is put those 4 by 4s in the center, but also allow me to put rail in there. With 3 by 3s I can then surround it with rail, and hopefully that will help later on with congestion. Does this connect here? I guess it does. I guess it does. Okay. Yeah, so it just fills in there to... Good, good, good. Alright, well, let's connect you up. And probably don't need that many power things right now. What we do need... Let's put in pumps. So we need some water pumps. So this game has a lot of nuances, and one of those nuances is the water cycle. I guess this is sort of simulating California as a biome, which is why everything looks brown and desert-like, even though there's trees and everything. And as such, anyway, there's going to be regular droughts, and that actually affects your water supply. You don't just put down a pump and that's how much water you have. Your water supply actually will change depending on, whether it's rainy or it's the hot summer season and there's a drought. And so what you need to actually do is use both pumps and towers together. In other games, especially other SimCity games, but just city building games in general, they usually make it so that, your tower is your first choice for water in a small town because it's cheap, and then the pumps are more expensive later. In this game, you need the pumps as your primary water source, and if you put them by actual, rivers or lakes or whatever, they'll produce twice as much as they will just out in the middle of nowhere, because out in the middle of nowhere they act as a well, whereas this is an actual pump. But in conjunction with your pumps, you need towers basically to act as reservoirs. And so when it's rainy, when it's snowy, whatever, when you've got more water in the system, it will store it in the towers so that when there is a drought, it will then start using the tower water. Very cool mechanic. Let's put down 3. I really actually should have put them here, because then they'd be right next to the electric and they'd be powered, so that was my fault. We're now going to have to put that there, and then we've got to grab pipes. And can you get down there? Let's spin you around just a little bit so I can see. Okay, right here is where it's going to be easier to get that pipe down. And I'm going to go ahead and just put pipes right under the roads, and if you think that's a little difficult to see, you can just turn off the roads to make sure you've actually got pipe. So, gotta go down here, move over, and we're just a little bit over budget here. Like that. Just make sure it's all connected. It is. Okay. And with all that, I think we're finally ready to start a city 20 minutes in. So let's go. Let me turn that off so I don't accidentally hit something. Here we go. Okay, so because of clock speed issues, whatever, you really only want to use pause or cheetah. Llama is okay. If you want to slow things down, you will never use turtle. It doesn't go fast enough. And we see we're already building in. Look at all that demand. Oh yes, okay, so I'm going to bump up property taxes to 8%. The manual says you can go to 9, but most of the guides I have seen suggest 7 to 8%. Except that as you grow the city, they'll be more tolerant to the point where when you get to arcologies, I saw someone on YouTube with like 20%, like they were just milking it for everything. You also have advisors here who will tell you whether or not you're doing a good job, except the road guy here who hates roads. Your transit guy just hates roads. Anytime you have roads, he'll tell you, you need to remove some. This is costing us too much. But we will do a city ordinance, and I'm going to put parking fines in to begin with. In time, I'll probably do income tax, maybe sales tax. In real life, you would want to pick one or the other because having both is ridiculous. But in this game, sales tax has an impact on your businesses, on your commercial. And income tax has an impact on your residential. And then legalized gambling basically trades off money for a rise in crime. So we'll do that, and we have nothing else yet, so we'll let it go. And we can see here, getting quite a bit of traffic right there. Now let me see, can I? Okay, we're not doing subscription yet. Now we're seeing a pretty significant increase in demand for commercial, which kind of tells me that this is going to fill up here pretty soon. If we look here, we've actually got some decently good land value going. I think I will put in just a little bit more of the commercial right here, and we'll let it run. We got a lot of industrial. It hasn't filled in yet, so I'm not going to put any more down. Let's see. Citizens demand police. Okay, hold on. This is an issue here. And, you know what? I should set that to subscription. The subscription paper gives you a lot of needless stuff, like all the human interest stories. But, okay, now we're making money. Now we're making money. Good, good. Well, let me pause this for a moment. But the extras basically is just like the stuff you need to know. But the papers in general will tell you things like, hey, you need cops. Pollution is an issue here. My mayoral rating has gone down because there's too much pollution. In fact, there's too much pollution here, so that's another thing. So we know that we need police, and we know that we need to have controls on pollution. So one thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to come to city ordinances. First of all, let's see what she has to say. People are asking for pollution ordinances. So we're going to come in here and we're going to put in pollution controls, which actually does have a very heavy impact. If we look at current things here, we've got medium pollution. With this controls in place, that should go down to low. So that's good. Now, let me check. Where is it? Oh, yeah. So not only can you do taxes, let's bring this out here. Not only can you do taxes for your RCI types, you can actually even get more fine-tuned in the industries themselves. So, like, if you want to give incentives for like tourist and electronics industries later on, and the higher paying, higher education type jobs with lower pollution, you can actually affect that by giving them tax breaks and whatnot. This game is very nuanced, and it's really cool. But what am I looking for right now? Not this. Not you either. I guess it must be no. It must be this one. No, it's not. The map. There we go, the map. Let's check out crime. Okay, crime is pretty heavy over here. See, I have an issue with its representation here. This is very unhelpful, where these pixels are in grayscale for the various... see, they managed to use color here, but it's in grayscale for, in this case, density. We're now highly dense over in here. The darker it is, the higher up the scale, I guess. So like, except in land value where it seems to be reversed. Or maybe not? Let's check that. So this is a light level over here. Yeah, 48. Okay, so yeah, the darker it is, the better it is. So this has got some, well, I guess it's dark because there's nobody over here. And we can see that we have cratered in that. So the manual kind of talks about the natural growth of a city, where you should start with light zoning, which then doesn't make much sense why it by default is in dense, but and then as you see a lot of the blight, as people move out to go to new constructions, you then tear it down and put in the dense stuff. Because apparently, as part of the simulation, people love to move to new buildings. So as you build new stuff, people will move from the old towns into those new areas. It also mentions that the simulation takes into consideration basically newer populations not being able to handle gentrification. So, like, if you've got very high land values everywhere, people will struggle to come to your city. So you actually kind of have to develop the city with lower income areas in mind, or lower land values in mind. Anyway, I came here to put police down. I was looking at those maps because I wanted to see where the biggest problem was, and we're going to put it right here, smack dab between commercial and industrial. So, what we're also going to do is not let these very, very expensive city services go at 100%. We're going to start by putting it down to 15%, and the manual, I think, suggests 25. But the people who know better, quote unquote, recommend starting at 15, and you can kind of tell. It says crime's at an all-time low. You can kind of tell whether that's going to be good or not. We can look in here, and eventually we'll be able to compare crimes reported to arrests and see what's going on there. So we have to bounce back and forth between some things. But let's go ahead and let this get started here. Fire station is now requested. Pollution rating is going to help a little bit. Kingpin impacted. All new city wished good riddance to Mario Wright. Last night as the infamous mafioso was carted off to jail. Hooray! Okay. Here we see wet weather ahead. So what I probably also want to do there is pause, and because I didn't do it, we need to put down a water, no, that is not water. That is not water. Water tower. And I guess I can put it here. That's a pretty good place for it, actually. Yeah. Yeah, we'll put it right here. Alright. So, that will now hopefully fill up on all the extra water, and hopefully, actually, let's look at pipes here. It looks as though... Ooh, this has to be connected, though. It looks as though we've got everybody situated. I'm going to have you connect there. There we go. So now it's connected to the water system. Except for the industry. We've got a chunk out here that is not watered, and that's an issue. So I might want another pump. See, this is what I was saying earlier, that you don't get a whole lot of information. Oh, well, you know what? It might not be watered because... Well, this one's not watered or powered. Okay. Well, what we can do here is we can at least add some power lineage. Make sure it's getting that. We should be good on power, though. Although I don't know. I don't actually know that. I would like to have that information. Power. It looks like... Okay, there's a few things that are not powered. And here we see this is not watered, yeah. So we're going to need a bit more. Alright. I really hate wasting this much money, but we apparently need it. Also, let's look at fire protection here. Is that a thing here? Not so much here. I don't know if I can see that. So we're just going to have to put general fire protection down. Let's put a fire station. I mean, I kind of want to put it over here. I think these guys are more prone to fire. But I also think that even though this doesn't have to be connected to a road, I think it needs to be connected to zoning to actually be most effective. And I guess I could do that, even though it says we've got some demand. It hasn't been developing out here everywhere. So maybe that's not a great place? Let's just put it here. And just like with the police, we will be putting this down to 15%. Save myself a bit of money and ask, okay, it is adequate to do so. Crime's at an all-time low. Just got to make sure we're still cool on that. She's got no new ordinances people are demanding, and taxes are good enough. And actually, I need to go back into this because I think I did not. Okay. Thought I gave someone a break. Why don't we give residential a little bit of a break so that maybe we can get some demand for that. And let's let things go again. New city awakens. Earthquake squishes Boston. Oof, Jesus. So traffic is now a major issue, and I lost a lot of approval between, yeah, the city's on fire and the pollution's terrible, to, God, traffic is a train wreck. So, we also see high winds. If I had wind power, this would be great for us here. So what we're going to do, could you just... Okay, well, traffic suddenly went back up, even though it's evil. Pancreas for sale. God, Alt-P. Let's try Alt-P. Alt-P. Good, it does work. Never know. Okay, so you can tell by the traffic here on the roads that this is pretty awful. And unfortunately, there's no real way to fix that in this game with different types of road. Eventually we'll get highway, but it is not the best at the moment. So what we have to do instead, and I don't know that we do not have access to it, it doesn't seem. Because I think it's in roads. We will get access to buses. Oh hey, but what we can do is we get a mayor's house. Let's put me right here. So wait a minute. Okay, I wanna look at this. Like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So here's where the road's gonna be eventually. Let's put the mayor's house right there. Bam. Not the best place because it's far away from anything and would be actually better served being close to the community for property. In fact, I probably should have put it over here or something like that for property values, but eventually it'll be nicer out here. Yeah, so we gotta wait a little bit. It's only 1903. Yeah, I'm not sure when the buses are invented, but it's gonna be a while. What do we got here? This is a big one. This is a big one, and with lots of commercial monies coming in. Fantastic. What is that? Okay. Yeah. So ultimately, this is what's sucking up all these little houses out here and driving demand down into the dirt. I really wish industry would get on the ball here. So maybe I should make another layer here just in case. Yeah. I mean, I hate doing that, especially when there's so much here undeveloped. Yeah, okay, well anyway, so this problem unfortunately is not something I can fix just yet, but we will use buses. Basically, mass transit is the way out of your traffic problems. You can also do, I think there's an ordinance for, what do we have here? There is not. Maybe I'm thinking of SimCity 3000. I feel like there is a public transport subsidy or something. That might be 3000. I guess one way we could kill demand is by putting sales tax in. That actually, you know what? Why don't we do that? Put sales tax in and see what that has an impact on. Although I hate to do that because we can see that the land value is already increasing. It's just not keeping pace with this. I don't know. I guess I could look at the taxes a little bit more and just like really crank down the taxes on what I want to keep. Like, residential, give them an even bigger boost. That's not overall having a major impact on what little money I'm having coming in here, so we'll give that a shot and see how that goes. But I think I'm going to end this episode here. Off to a good start, making money. So that's really what matters. And we'll continue on next time.